Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I trust everyone is safe and well. Welcome to today's Open Classroom. As of next week, and with business kind of resembling some sort of normality, we're going to be changing the Open Classroom format by consolidating our 4 weekly classes into one 15-minute class every Thursday at 2 o'clock, where we will be covering different modules each week. Every Monday, we'll release an agenda of the weekly class, so if you don't wish to attend all the modules that Thursday, you will know when to log in. So, still the same weekly contents, just wrapped and presented slightly differently. Back to today, where we welcome back Cameron Boyle to present his weekly roads class. Please remember all our past webinars can be found on our website on the FAQ page, which is found under the Services pull-down menu. As always, please feel free to use the text chat service in your GoToWebinar app to ask us any questions you may have during Cameron's presentation. So, good afternoon, Cameron. Please take it away.
Thank you very much, Charles. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's session. The objective is to look at the crossing services functionality found under your roads module. So we'll go through the different options where we'll end off looking at the generate skew sections, and I'll show you how I achieved the three-dimensional view found in front of us, where you can see that red culvert transporting the water from one side to the other side of the road. Changing my viewport, I'm going to show you how you can graphically go and insert the crossing services. Before I do that, a couple of things I'd like to point out. I've got this main road active. If I go to Tools, Index, Edit Chainage Records, if you look at about Chainage 1600, you'll see that the chainage intervals are all at 5 meters and I don't have any skew angles. When I graphically insert this crossing service, Civil Designer would automatically update this information in my chainage index. Before I do the crossing, if you don't know of it yet, you are able to view a cross-section of your road using the Quick Profile Viewer. You can achieve this by going to your terrain mode, selecting terrain on top, Quick Profile Viewer. Specify which surface you're working with. Now I'm going to go and switch on use the strings model. That would include the roads when you view this cross-section. Clicking on the intended route start point and then the end point. Right click and finish. That gives me a quick profile view of where I've gone and clicked. I've gone and turned on my ground line under my display settings. So here I can clearly see the roads as well as the ground level. And as I move my cursor, you can see that in the plan view, the cross is being updated. If I want to click on a certain point, I can make note of my elevations. So it may be that you want to use those elevations for your invert levels of your crossings. Going to the roads mode, selecting Tools, Crossing Services, and just showing you the Crossing Services editor. I've already got gas lines as the crossing service, and this is the culvert that I showed you in 3D. I'm going to go and delete that. If I go and close the spreadsheet, Civil Designer will ask if I want to save the change data. I'm going to click on yes, and then it also picks up that the culvert page as listed at the bottom is empty. Do I want to remove the page? I'm going to click on yes. Now using the function, going back to Tools, Crossing Services, Graphical Add Crossing Service, indicating my start point and my end point. When I've selected those 2 points, I've gone beyond my toe points. Civil Designer prompts, do you want to add a cross section to the road? You preferably always want to click on yes. When you go and put in this crossing service, and it intersects a road, it will automatically give you this confirmation. If I click on yes here, Civil Designer will automatically snip the crossing services at the tow points and insert a skew chainage in the road index. I'm going to click on yes. I'm going to call it culvert crossing. I'm going to specify a number of culverts as 2. Put in the dimensions of my culvert. On the right hand side, we have the cover levels at the moment. I'm going to ask Civil Designer to pick up the inverts by clicking on the extract invert levels. Specify which surface you're working on and what the vertical offset from the surface is. At this position of my road, I'm in a fill condition. So I'm going to go and put in a positive value of 150 mils. I want the culverts to be visible so that you can see the result. Click on OK. My invert levels have been updated. And if you look over here, my text is written in red. There's a warning, not enough cover for crossing link with this height. Because it's in red, it's flagged out. If you look at the bottom over here, we've got an actual cover of 0.565, and I've specified a minimum cover of 1 meter. If, for instance, I were to go and make that half a meter, the warning would then disappear. My actual cover at the moment is 0.56. I've looked at my road layerworks and I'm happy with that. You can then go and specify in which CAD layer the link will be placed. As you start typing in the layer name, you will see that it does a layer search to find if there's existing layers with that name. I'm going to call that culvert crossing. Click on OK. Civil Designer extracts the skew section. If you don't see your culvert crossing, you can go to your display settings on the left-hand side, select crossings, click on the browse button, and go and specify that you'd like to see it. I know I've got a stormwater pipe close by, so I'm also going to turn that on, and because of Civil Designer's full integration, I can see what that looks like in my cross section. Zooming in, I can see the invert of my culvert. There's my stormwater link. If my median was further down, that information would have been included with minimum cover. Let's go and close that. And let's go and update our display settings. I'm going to right click and quit. Go to my display settings. You'll see there's an additional item here called crossing settings, and there's our culvert crossing. Clicking on that, you have the option of switching the display on. Specify your pen colors, your symbol size, your line type. At the bottom here, you could simply right click and go and select. As an example, you want your invert level. And on the right hand side, I choose to right click and go and select type. As I insert more services, you'll see that the list grows over here. Turning off the invert option for now and clicking on OK. Before I show this to you in a 3D view, I want to show you the road index file has been updated. Going back to Tools, Index, Edit Chainage Records, and then scrolling down to the intersecting chainage records, about 1,620. Looking on the left-hand side, the new chainage record has been inserted, as well as the skew angle. An angle of 0 represents an angle perpendicular to the road, and a positive value means clockwise. If you want to check for clashes, in this case, let's say between our stormwater and our new culvert, you go to your stormwater module, go to Tools on top, select Clashes, specify the clashes between the stormwater and the new culvert crossing. I've selected 1 meter clearance, click on Check, and in this case we don't have any proximity clashes. Closing that, let's go and view this in a 3D format. I'm then going to right click and select Render View. Viewing it from the top view, and then using my define zoom views. Here's my existing stormwater manhole. There's the new culvert that we've inserted. I'm just changing this to the side view. And then zooming into the culvert crossing. You can see 2 parallel lines there because we specified a thickness for our culverts. Looking at the other side of the road, and just showing you what's happening beneath the ground. So here we've got the existing services, be it the sewer, the stormwater, and the water. And here's our culvert crossing. Just to show you that the spreadsheet has been updated, I'm going back to the roads mode. I'm going back to Tools, selecting Crossing Services and Crossing Services Editor. At the bottom, we've got an additional tab with the information of our culvert crossing. If you don't want to do things graphically and you've already got the information, you can simply read a CSV file. Let me show you how that's done. I'm going to go and select the Add New tab. Let's call this Electrical. Looking at the bottom, I can then go to one of the cells, go and right click and go and select Read CSV File. Specify which one you'd like to import and click on Open. By default, you'll have 1,000 rows. I've made mine 1,500, but you can increase that to 16,384 rows. Let's take a look at the electrical crossing services. I'm going to close this and save it. And you can see the additional information. You can, of course, go back to your display settings and update that. Another option is to import an ASCII file. And this is very similar to bringing in your surveyed information. You go to Tools, Crossing Services, Import from ASCII. Before I do that, I need to change my viewport so that you can see it once it's brought in. Go back to Tools, Crossing Services, Import from ASCII. This time we don't look at the fiber line. You have the option of importing a fixed width or delimited. If you do go and select Other, you'll see this becomes active. If you're not quite sure what format or what code to use, you can go and press F1, which would open up our hop files, and go and select ASCII table, which would give you a better idea on which codes to use. On the top, you can go and specify which heading to use for the different columns. This will give you a 5-line preview, so it won't show you all of your points. Before I click on OK, I need to go and change that back to a comma delimited. Specify in which layer you would like the results. As I go and type in, for instance, BT, you can see Civil Designer picks up an existing layer called BT on the top there. So I just need to carry on. There's the fiber line that I brought in. Moving on to the next function, I've got a CAD drawing over here, and I want to convert this CAD drawing into one of the crossing services. With this CAD layer, I've gone and put in the pipes on one layer, and then I've put in the type, the diameter, as well as the name, all on individual layers. Also take note that the text is placed close to the center of the CAD line. Bearing that in mind, I go back to Tools, Crossing Services, and go and select Import Drawing. Destination layer, again you can type in your layer, or you can go and specify an existing layer. The name would be the EW pipe. The inverts I've specified at the nodes. The links would be the CAD line. The type would be the HDPE, and then a diameter would be the 250. And that 250 is representing the diameter in millimeters. Civil Designer has done the conversion. I can then just go to the CAD layers and turn them off. And there's the crossing services. If I go back to the spreadsheet, I go to Tools, Crossing Services Editor. Looking at the electrical, which we read from CSV file, the fiber line, which we imported via ASCII file, and then the existing water line that we obtained from CAD layers. Now the last function I want to show you is generate skew sections. This is more of a manual way of doing things. Ideally, you always want to select the graphical add cross service. Let's look at this function in more depth. Changing my zoom view back to where we started today's webinar. I'm going to zoom in there and manually extract the skew angle. Now before I do anything, just take note, if I go to Section, Graphical Edit, just to show you what a cross-section looks like. Now in this case, the embankments aren't part of the road. They're part of a platform. Closing that, going back to Tools, Crossing Services, Graphically Add Crossing Service. Specify your start point, indicate next node, and enter. This time I'm going to say no, I don't want to add the skew cross-section. The dialog as per the first example comes up. I'm going to go and specify my link name. Specify number of links, my width, height. And this time when I go and extract the invert levels, I'm still using the ground level, but I want a vertical offset of negative 1.5 meters. Changing the wall thickness. And on which CAD layer I would like to save this. And clicking on OK. Right click and quit. If we were to take a look at the cross section at a position close by, you'll see we don't have the exact position of our culvert crossing. So in a case like that, you use the last function I showed to you. We go to Tools, Crossing Surfaces, and select Generate Skew Section. Specify your DTM surface, your road layers, and the crossing surface for extraction. Clicking on OK. Going back to my display settings and switching on the stormwater culvert. Now that I can see it in a cross-sectional format, I can again go and check the elevations I choose to use and go and make changes. Using the spreadsheet that I pointed out before, I'm going to close that, go back to Tools, Crossing Surfaces Editor, go and select the Stormwater Culvert option, and then change in my invert start and my invert end. Let's go and see what this looks like in 3D. Using my defined viewports, and just to take a sneak peek of what's happening under the water. And returning back to my zoom view number 1. That's all the time we have for today. Please let us know if you've got any additional questions. Until next time, cheers for now. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Cameron. That was great, and thank you to all who attended today. Please remember that if you would like any further information with regards to Civil Designer's Roads module, please use the email address listed on your screens right now, or visit our website. See you all tomorrow at the same time and same place using the same link, where Cameron will be back facilitating a Design Center CAD class. Have a great afternoon, and goodbye for now.